Namaskar and welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we cover policies, various reformations, implementations of schemes, where policymakers, various stakeholders also take part. Basically, it's a convergence of all these things where one can questions. In this episode, we'll see how the present policies, the act will evolve in time, and how the person in the last queue, the Divyangjan in the last queue can get the benefit, and there will be ease in the process. And accordingly, the various stakeholders can also see and understand the realities. According to 2011 census, as we know, there are 2.68 crore Divyangjan prevalent. But in today's scenario, if we take into account, that time there were 7 kinds of disabilities, and now 21 kinds of disabilities are there. And in various cases, people who met road accidents, people who are elderly, they also face some kinds of disabilities. So, if taken into account of all these factors, uh, maybe more disability percentage have been increased by now. So the thing is, now the law, there should be a strong law. The vision of inclusivity is there in our constitution, in our Act 2016 Act, but it needs to be realized. It needs to be lived by every Divyangjan. For that, we have Dr. KVS Rao with us. Namaskar, sir.
Namaste.
Today's vision of inclusive society needs to be realized and lived by every Divyangjan. Whereas they are facing the difficulties. There is no ease of accessibility. I'm talking about the last, in the democracy, the last mile Divyangjan. So how can you say that the Act 2016 has been evolving day to day to ease the facilities for Divyangjan, for the empowerment of Divyangjan?
Thank you very much for inviting me for this, and it's a very important question that you have raised. Inclusiveness is something very important. If you see in the past, there has been a lot of segregation. जैसे communities में कुछ sections अपना society में दूर रखते हैं. It can be social communities or it can be persons with disabilities जो physical या mental हो. तो इस तरह segregation काफ़ी था इंडिया में और काफ़ी अदर कंट्रीज में. लेकिन जब डेमोक्रेसी कॉन्सेप्ट आया है कि सभी ह्यूमन बीइंग्स इक्वल है, तो काफ़ी अच्छा कॉन्सेप्ट इवॉल्व होते जा रहा है डेमोक्रेसी में. सो वी हैड लॉ ऑफ 1995 in which law has recognized disabilities, 7 disabilities. मतलब लॉ इसलिए इम्पोर्टेंट है कि लोगों को इस लॉ से हक मिलता है कि हाँ, इस कानून से हम लड़ सकते हैं और अपना हक को लड़ सकते हैं. तो ये कानून 1995 में था जो 7 डिसेबिलिटीज रिकग्नाइज हुआ था. ग्रेजुअली अब प्रेजेंट सिचुएशन ये है, 2016 जो नया लॉ आया है इसमें 21 डिसेबिलिटीज रिकग्नाइज हुआ है. नाउ दिस इज बिकॉज इन बिटवीन यूनाइटेड नेशंस में काफ़ी डिबेट हुआ है. सभी कंट्रीज एक्सेप्ट किया है कि ये मार्जिनलाइज सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी है जो डिसेबिलिटीज़ वाले, काफ़ी नेग्लेक्ट और डिस्क्रिमिनेशन स्टिग्मा होता है. तो इनके लिए गवर्नमेंट पूरी तरह मदद करना है. इट शुड बी ए मैटर ऑफ राइट रादर देन एज अ वेलफेयर. तो आप जो इंक्लूजन इशू जो लिया है मुद्दा, इट इज़ वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट कि अभी तक जितना उनका नेग्लेक्ट हुआ है, डिस्क्रिमिनेट हुआ है, इनको किस तरह उनको निकालना है और मेन स्ट्रीम में लाना है. एंड दिस लॉ इज़ वेरी पावरफुल वेपन फॉर नॉट ओनली पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटीज, लेकिन उनके पेरेंट्स और केयर गिवर्स सभी के लिए कि इनका हक अपना के लिए लड़के लेना है. दैट इज़ वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट डेफिनेटली. जब सोशोलॉजी में ये बताता है कि लॉ जब होता है देयर इज़ डेफिनेटली अ डिफरेंस इन सोशल चेंज. टाइम लगता है, लेकिन आई एम श्योर फ्रॉम 1995 ऑनवर्ड्स ये मूवमेंट शुरू हुआ है टुवर्ड्स इंक्लूजन. दो इट इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट बट काफ़ी जारी है. बिकॉज धीरे धीरे लोगों को अवेयरनेस क्रिएट हो रहा है और अपने लिए लड़ रहे हैं और गवर्नमेंट भी काफ़ी सेंसिटिव है, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एंड स्टेट गवर्नमेंट.
Sir, our present act, RPWD Act 2016, do you think it is evolving and it is able to address the social, economic and employment related realities of the Byangjan?
Yes, I feel that this law of 2016 is very comprehensive. हम ये सोचते हैं कि इसमें कोई अमेंडमेंट का ज़रूरत ही नहीं है क्योंकि हर एस्पेक्ट ऑफ लाइफ हैज़ बीन कवर्ड. बर्थ से लाइवलीहुड से डेथ तक पूरा कवर्ड हुआ है. फॉर इंस्टेंस जो एक सेक्शन है रिगार्डिंग हेल्थ प्रिवेंशन ऑफ डिसेबिलिटी, इसका मतलब यह है कि इनफैक्ट जो बच्चा पैदा होने से पहले भी उसके लिए कितना केयर लेना है मदर, so that to prevent disability, to be more careful not only in terms of diet, nutrition और एक्सीडेंट्स भी बचना है एट द टाइम ऑफ प्रेगनेंसी, और बच्चा पैदा होने के बाद भी कितना केयरफुल रहना है और ताकि अर्ली इंटरवेंशन हो सके. जो रिसोर्स सेंटर्स होते हैं रिहेबिलिटेशन का, वह उनके पास जल्दी पहुंचना है और उससे क्या होता है जो डिसेबिलिटी का डिटेक्ट होता है और डिटेक्ट होने से अर्ली इंटरवेंशन स्टार्ट हो सकता है. उससे क्या है या डिसेबिलिटी पूरी तरह क्योर हो सकता है या हो सकता है उनका एक्सटेंट ऑफ डिग्री कम भी हो सकता है. सो दिस इज द अर्ली इंटरवेंशन. नाउ दिस इज मेंशन्ड इन द एक्ट. नाउ द सेकंड स्टेज आफ्टर द अर्ली इंटरवेंशन इज प्रिपरेटरी टू द स्कूल. स्कूल जाने से पहले जो डिसेबिलिटी होता है उनके लिए अलग तरीका से थेरेपीज ज़रूरत है, नॉट ओनली लोकोमोटर, कॉग्निटिव, हियरिंग, स्पीच एंड ऑल दैट, बट ऑल्सो उनको किस तरह स्कूल के लिए एंट्री के लिए प्रिपेयर करना है, वो भी दिस स्टेज इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. नाउ आफ्टर दैट यू कम टू एजुकेशन. एजुकेशन एक्ट में लिखा है, दो ऑप्शंस दिया गया पेरेंट्स को, एक स्पेशल एजुकेशन और मेन स्ट्रीम एजुकेशन. सो गवर्नमेंट हैज़ द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू इंश्योर एडमिशन नॉट ओनली इन स्पेशल स्कूल बट ऑल्सो इन मेन स्ट्रीम इंक्लूसिव स्कूल्स. अब स्कूल लेवल के बाद होता है एम्प्लॉयमेंट. Act में again there's a very important section connected with employment where 4% reservation minimum is to be given to the persons with disabilities in the government sector. Private sector mein it is only it is not mandatory, though it is 5% they are supposed to do it. Or apart from employment, there's one important section connected with skill development. So the government again has a responsibility to provide skill development so that they can pursue different types of occupation for livelihood. Now, after the employment, there are many other requirements for them. For instance, इंश्योरेंस होना चाहिए उनके लिए, और जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं हो सकता है इवन छोटे उम्र से भी पेंशन होना चाहिए, सोशल सिक्योरिटी. सो इन एडिशन टू दिस, in fact from beginning till the end, accessibility is very important. Accessibility, the act clearly says, in fact 1995 एक्ट में सिर्फ एक्सेसिबिलिटी मतलब ये है कि बसेस एक्सेसिबल होना चाहिए, बिल्डिंग एक्सेसिबल होना चाहिए, लेकिन इस एक्ट में 3 important pillars have been mentioned. एक तो physical accessibility जो buildings है, buildings can be not only government buildings, it can be airports, railways, any other buildings where the people, malls also. Then second is the transportation. That is very important, where people should be able to get into a bus, get into a taxi, get into aircraft very easily. And third is the ICT, information communication technology, like websites ho ya apna mobiles, all these have to be accessible for persons with disabilities. Here, for instance, even when it comes to financial inclusion, ATM, supposing we have an ATM which is not accessible to a person with blindness, then which means that we are not able to provide the access to banking. So at various levels, if we can implement the act in all these areas, then I think the persons with disability will be fully included in the society. Even, for instance, the act goes even beyond, for instance, legal guardianship. Parents are very much concerned as to what will happen to the children after they both parents pass away. Now, here the act has a clear provision of legal guardianship, where the district judge or any kind of authority provided by the state government, they can give legal guardianship for the child or person with disability. So, I feel that the act covers all aspects to take care of the needs of persons with disabilities. In fact, the previous Act 95 did not cover much about the disability certificate. This Act talks about it, and it says that which authority should provide the certificate, and also that it is valid throughout the country, any certificate given by the local authority. So it is so clearly mentioned that I don't see any further addition is required. Only thing is that the 25 disabilities which have been recognized, the Act also says that more disabilities can be included even without going to the Parliament. The government can do that. So that is another important aspect. As far as the policy level committees are concerned, the Central Advisory Board is there at the national level, which provides policy at the national level, and also the state advisory boards, which provide a policy for the disability at the state levels. So we have a clear mechanism for policy making, and redressal mechanism is also there at two levels. One is the Chief Commissioner for persons with disability at the state level, central level, and also state commissioner at the state levels. In addition to this, the Act clearly says that there should be special courts for persons with disabilities, so that there is easy disposal of cases, so that they don't have to wait for long for justice. So accessibility, inclusion, empowerment, all these concepts I think have been taken care of in the whole of the Act, starting from preamble to the last section of the Act. What remains is that how well it is implemented, both by the central government and state government, and also various bodies, organizations, can be corporate or private sector, NGOs.
So where does implementation fail? Mostly, I mean, how do you think, whether it is on awareness level, or it is implementation level, or it is coordination level? Where exactly it is failing? How can you see?
Yeah, in fact, it is always said that the laws are very well conceived and made, but they will remain in the shelf if they are not properly implemented. So there are many such laws where they don't see the light of the day because there's not much pressure from the public, or there's not much of activism at the level of the implementers, the government level, or even judiciary. But here I find, as far as this act is concerned, the central government and state governments have taken much interest in implementing, and the judiciary is also very playing a very active role in interpreting the act and also passing orders how the provisions can be implemented effectively. But what is important here is if the provisions of the act have to be implemented properly, definitely the manpower is very much required, professional manpower. Yes, the Act says that, yes, for instance, early intervention, rehabilitation, assistive devices, all things are mentioned in the Act. But when you see not only the cities but towns and villages, we do not see the availability of professionals. We have shortage of special educators, shortage of occupational therapists, physiotherapists, speech therapists. So even pediatricians, these are all very much required for persons with disabilities, especially at the initial level of their life. So there is severe shortage of manpower. That is, we have to recognize it. And second thing, the resource centers. as far as at the national level, we have 7 national institutes. 2 more have been added, the ISLRTC as well as National Institute of Mental Health Rehabilitation. Now, these are at the national level. They cover only a few of the states. And then you have CRCs, composite regional centers under the National Institute. They're again probably about 25, 30. But this is very less compared to the population. The state governments do not have such important resource centers. I mean, they are required not only for rehabilitation, physical and mental rehabilitation, but also they require resource centers for education. If inclusive education has to be successful, the resource centers are very important. Not only the facilities, equipments, but also the personnel who can handle, who can provide advice and counseling and therapy. So the first is the shortage of manpower. Second is the financial resources. Given the population of the country, the amount of budget that is allocated by the both central government and state governments is very, very less. And given the population, at least some ratio of 2 to 3% must be earmarked for persons with disabilities every year by all governments. Only then they will be able to utilize that for purpose of assistive devices, making environment accessible, inclusive education, pension, and many other things are required for persons with disabilities. So that amount of finance is very much required. The third, I feel, awareness. Yes, the governments are trying to publicize about the law and policy, but still I find when I interact with the parents, they do not know the basic facilities that are available. They do not know where therapy is available, where inclusive education, where the child has to go for education, and whether they're eligible for any jobs. So they're very, very ignorant of facilities and schemes of the government. So I think that is where there is a need not only for government to increase its awareness campaign, but also the NGOs and even individuals like us, if we are aware. Supposing I have a neighbor who has a child with disability, I should be able to guide them the place where they can apply for a disability certificate and also go for therapies and also go for education. So if each individual, each organization can be equipped, empowered with the knowledge and information about disability, I'm sure people will get to know it and they will try to search for the resources for help. So this is the third part where awareness is what is missing. And fourth part, I feel the data is very important. We have a data of persons with disabilities who are 2.68 crore in 2011 as per the census, which comes to 2.21% of the whole population. Now, from then onwards till now, we do not have any clear figures because the next census is to happen and probably we're going to get the results only in 2027. And that time in 2011 only 7 disabilities were covered. Now it will be 21 disabilities, so we're going to get a clear picture of what would be the actual number. But the UDAD card, the disability certificates which are issued online, that has certain information, data as to how many persons with disabilities are there across all the 21 disabilities. That is a real time, but that is little not very correct figure because it all depends on how many people are registering on that portal. So if I did not register, then I would not be included in that. So even there, the governments have to be a little proactive. I remember when I was in government before retirement, Datia district in Madhya Pradesh was the first and only district so far which gave a certificate that all persons with disabilities were covered and they were issued disability certificate. That means the government has to have some kind of campaign to go door to door and identify the persons with disabilities and also give the certificate to them. I think only then. Otherwise, if you wait for the persons to come to the disability assessment center, then I think many would not be reaching there, because first of all they are not aware. Second, they may be very far from the center because of the accessibility issues. So this gap has to be filled up, and I'm sure even without waiting for the census, if this drive is conducted, I'm sure we'll have a clear picture, and once we have the data, I'm sure the government can have a policy on various disabilities, especially the 21 disabilities, which disabilities require what kind of emphasis. Apart from this, the implementation of the Act on certain provisions, like for instance, special courts, which I mentioned. Now, whether such courts have been notified by the state governments, how many such cases are there, and especially there's a section in the Act, offenses and punishments. Now, how many people have faced some kind of harassment, and whether how many have gone to the police station, how many cases have been registered, that figures are not available. I'm sure that the Home Ministry can take interest in this, and just as in the police station they mention the cases, how many thefts and murders and rapes, if they can also mention how many cases are there against persons with disabilities, that will sensitize not only the police force, but also it will help the persons with disabilities to have access to the police station easily, file complaints and get justice.
So I just need to intervene in this. As you mentioned, disability certificate. Actually, even in AIMS, I mean, some people have given this feedback to me. Uh, Locomotor issues are visible, blind, visually impaired also visible, but they're autistic. There's an autistic person, he cannot be in the queue to get a disability certificate, even if parents are there. So that takes a lot of time, and then people are also not there sufficient in any health, in any hospitals or health sector, so that they can, in that particular appropriate time, they need to assess the person accordingly.
Right.
They'll certain, I mean, approve their percentage of disability and then approve the certificate, is it not? Those are the problems that even the disabilities people are facing, because 21 kinds of disabilities are not visible, only 4 kinds of disabilities are visible.
Right.
So how we can bridge these things, or how we can ease this for the Divyangjan, so that in health sector, in any hospitals, whenever they'll be coming, they'll be approaching to any district level or state level bigger hospitals, then there'll also be provisions so that they can equally entertain those people, and with no time, or with in a very less period of time, certificates, disability certificates can also be issued.
In fact, many parents are not aware of disability and rehabilitation. So, it is the duty of the government and community to ensure that this aspect is taken care of. For instance, immunization, vaccines. As soon as the child is born, there's a routine that at different stages the child has to be taken for vaccination. Now, at the same time, this kind of identification of disabilities is not happening. So, what I have seen uh, in Tamil Nadu, there is a district I don't remember, but we have a National Institute of Multiple Disabilities in Chennai. What they have done, they have have a collaboration with the district hospital. Now, district hospital, as soon as the child is born, sometimes the child is born with low weight or any kind of deformity. The child is taken care of in the hospital itself before the child is sent to the home. Now, when the child is there, maybe as soon as born or maybe little later, there is a room next to the neonatal center where the 2 or 3 professionals from National Institute of Multiple Disabilities are there. One is a psychologist, special educator, physiotherapist, occupational therapist. Now, it becomes very easy for to tell the parents to take the child there and make kind of assessment. If there is some disability, they are able to recognize it and they are able to follow, and they are going to tell them where to take the child. It could be the National Institute or it could be any other place, a private rehabilitation center. At least the parents will know what is the problem that the child is having in terms of disability, and quick action can be taken. Now, this is one what the National Institute has done. And the second thing what the National Institute did is that since every parent takes the child to a child specialist, the pediatrician, the National Institute has trained all the pediatricians in the state. It can be government or private, because in their curriculum, medical curriculum, at the MBBS or even the post graduation level, there is no training connected with disability and rehabilitation. So the National Institute have conducted some kind of training to all the pediatricians. So whenever the child comes brought by the parents, they are able to see what kind of disability they have, and they are going to, even if they don't have a solution, they are going to direct them to the right place where rehabilitation is possible, where they can get a disability certificate, and where they can know about the government schemes. So this particular experiment with the state government, Tamil Nadu has done in one state. I don't think it is there in other states. If every state can have a disability kind of center attached to the district hospital, then every child who comes to this hospital, he will be referred to the center for rehabilitation. I think this is a very important question that you raised, and it not only we will be able to detect, we will be able to solve the problem, and also give the disability certificate and tell them what are the schemes are available, and tell them that there's a good future for them, because there are a lot of success stories. By this, we are going to improve the morale of the parents, and the child will definitely get a lot of emphasis in interest and care from parents and caregivers.
So here I think we need to fix the responsibility at district or state level or district block level also, and then here starts the role of scientific role of technology.
Right.
So with technology, the expedition or the disability certification things can be expedited. So as you can see in department DEPwD also, there are procedures, UDID, how to get the procedures, but how to expedite it. Even for us, even for I mean able-bodied people also, it's very difficult to to go through those process and get these things done. I mean even if there are technologies. So what are the ways out? How can we simplify either the procedure or the technicalities, or or the modern technology can be welcomed, so that people who are there in the far reaching areas, they can also the utilize the mediums, the
Yeah,
technological
in fact,
mediums.
the issue of technology, as far as the disability certificate is concerned, we have definitely solved it at least 70%. In the sense, earlier the person used to go to the district hospital to apply. Then second visit he will come for the assessment, and third visit he will come for the taking the disability certificate. Now, to reduce the number of visits, we have developed the UDD portal, by which only one visit is sufficient compared to three visits. Meaning, he will make the application online. He will make a visit, because they will come to know by the SMS by where and when they should visit. And third, the certificate will be available online. So this is the best way where we have minimized the problem of mobility to them, and it is all free. And what problems people face here is, supposing they do not have a laptop or anything to apply. So that problem is there, but there are common community service centers across the country, and network internet facilities are there. Definitely, there will be some problem, but wherever there is internet facility problem, the district authorities can find some kind of solution by having some kind of mobile vans, and people going from the district hospital to the nearby villages. But definitely, even after applying, I find there is a lot of delay. When it comes to practical side, I have applied, but I have not got any response where I should go for a certificate. And even if I went and got the assessment, again, there is a lot of problem. In one visit it doesn't happen, they'll ask me to come again. There could be problem of availability of professionals, or there could be some kind of harassment, we do not know. But the visit is definitely not happening in once, it may be more than once. And again, as far as the certificate is concerned, sometimes there are defects in the certificate. So these are all things which have to be corrected. And if the district authorities who are handling UDD are properly sensitized, and if they are very empathetic, they'll be able to help the persons with disabilities. Otherwise, this will be another kind of harassment which the technology wanted to reduce, but if the personnel handling it are not empathic, definitely the harassment will continue. And in many cases, I find that there is a lot of delay in getting certificates. In some cases, even 1 year. Even the special educators, they have told me in some schools, because people who have certain disabilities like learning disabilities, they depend on the disability certificate, because the certificate will give you the assessment what kind of disability is there, whether it is dyslexia, dysgraphia, so that the special educator is able to have a plan how to handle the child. Now, if there is a delay of 1 or 2 years to get the certificate, then even the education gets delayed. The special educator cannot go further. So that will be a lot of waste of time for the child and for parents, for the school. So these are things which I generally come to know, that the reason is that the medical professionals, they are very much already loaded with work. But then this is an important constitutional responsibility. The certificate has to be given, because it is a kind of passport for many government benefits. So there cannot be any delay. Even the courts, even the CCPD and state commissioners, they have been emphasizing that the delay should be avoided, because disability certificate has to be provided to all persons with disabilities.
Sir, in Government of India, there are so many schemes under this RPWD Act. Say, for example, EDIP scheme, the scale and all. And for all the schemes related things, there are different kinds of different portals where people needs to apply, so that accordingly they'll get their benefits.
Right.
Say, for example, for skill, there is PM Dex portal. For EDIP, Origin portal. Don't you think there should be one single window for all the beneficiaries, or for all the all our target audiences, like the Divyangjan, the last mile delivery, whoever is, Divyangjan, so that it will ease the process. Means in that one particular window, may be then segregated to different things. But in that one window, if suppose uh, log into dot whatever, and then that will lead to different, so that it will be easy for the person, disabled person, to remember. Like there are so many grievance redressal numbers, phone numbers. Call to this number to get these benefits, call to this number. It will not be, we cannot remember all those numbers, all those phone numbers and all. So likewise, there should be one particular one portal which will lend in different according to their needs. It will lend to those skill, whether or it is employment related things, skill related things, various other services related things, EDIP related assessment related things. Accordingly, there are various numbers, telephone numbers also, how to directly talk to the concerned person. There should be coordinators in different centers, whether it is in district or it is in state, so that things will be, so that they can directly call them, get the benefits directly, and accordingly they can at least try to process those things.
Right, I fully agree with you. This is a clear practical problem that people face. For instance, in the state government, if I want to know where I can get pension, then there is some department, maybe finance department, which is handling it, or rural development department. And supposing I want to know where I can get assistive devices, it could be a disability or some skill development department. So state governments every department is handling something connected with disability. Same thing with the center also. Every central ministry is handling something other there. As you rightly said, there are already portals for the various facilities. It can be scholarship, it can be aids and appliances, it can be funding under DDRS. So the suggestion which I would like to make is that if the nodal department dealing with disability like DEPwD, if they can have one page where all such portals links are available, then I think the person with disability, a student or anybody, if they click, they will be able to know uh, uh, all the details at one place. So if this can be done at the central level by the person, by the Department of Person with Disabilities, same is the case at the state level. If the department dealing with, like social welfare department dealing with disability, on their website, if they can have all the links on their homepage, then I think that homepage, like for instance, there are some states which have give facilities for marriages, uh, for as I said, scholarship and pension. All those can be on one page. Then I think they don't have to go on searching for different ministries' websites. This is something can be easily achievable, and I don't see why it has not been done. And otherwise, it is very difficult for the stakeholders to really search for all the portals and links and apps connected with the benefits of the government.
So how can interministerial coordination can also be strengthened in this
Yeah,
particular?
yeah. Like we have the Central Advisory Board, where all the ministries are there in the board. That happens only once in twice or once in 6 months. But I feel there should be some kind of mechanism where they're in touch with each other, even uh, when there is no CAB meeting, because it has to be something, whatever issues are there, they should be in touch with each other. They should not think that it is the responsibility of that department. For instance, one example is education, inclusive education. Now, here, when it comes to inclusive education, how to bring children with disabilities in one classroom, they will require a lot of information connected with the nature of disabilities, how they should be handled, what kind of equipments are required, apps are required, the resource persons, resource centers. So the schools and colleges will not be able to find, so because they don't have the expertise, so they have to depend on the Department of Disability. If they can be and also the rehabilitation RCI or national institutes. So if there is a proper coordination between different sectoral ministries, and I'm sure that the problems of persons with disabilities can be solved much faster. As you said, that the gap between the law and policy, law and implement practice can be reduced, and this is another very important link, missing link, which has to be corrected.
Sir, what does true inclusion look like 5 years down the line?
But
What
does
true inclusion
true
look
inclusion?
like according to you
Yeah.
5 years down the line?
Yeah, in fact, I think given the pace that we are having from 1995, the law, now 2016 and now 2025, we have crossed. So we have crossed 30 years from 1995, and the progress has been very slow in spite of the two laws. In fact, the 2016 law has given the deadlines also for achieving the accessibility. For instance, 5 years for the physical accessibility, 2 years for services, but we are far from achieving it. We have not made all the buildings accessible. It's going to take long time unless there's special drive. So 5 years, I feel, will again pass very fast without much of improvement, unless there is some kind of mission mode, uh, checking the law, the provisions every 2 3 months and seeing what we have to do. Now, for instance, the policy is very important. We don't have a policy. We have a policy of 2006, and there's no policy after the new law has come, 2016. Now, policy is very important because everything is not covered in the law. The policy will tell you which are the areas that require emphasis and how to go about, how to achieve it. Now, if you do not have that kind of policy and strategy, then the law, most of the provisions will remain unimplemented. So, I think it may take even 20 years probably to see all buildings accessible, to see that it is easy for every child with disability going to the mainstream schools, and it's also easy for them to enter government sector easily without any problem, and also work having own businesses. Like for instance, you have seen the movie Srikant, where a person who is blind, who is able to have a run a corporate of about 250 crores turnover. So if we can, I mean, definitely we have already started seeing people with persons with disabilities in civil services, in external affairs ministries, and in various central government and state government also. Apart from that, in banking, in sports, in arts, uh, in also business. But the number is very few. If we can see more people, and uh, if we can see the persons with disabilities and their parents well aware of the information and knowledge relating to disability, and if we can have early intervention centers in every PSC, private healthcare centers, at the down bottom level, and if we can see that there is enough pension available to every person with disabilities who are not able to earn, then I think we can say that inclusion has happened, and the pace can be increased if we can put in more finance, increase the manpower, and also make all channels easy and accessible for persons with disabilities. And I feel that even in the school college level, if every student, male or female, are trained well about the disability, and I'm sure when they become parents, the knowledge that they acquire about it, it will be easy for them to take care of the child and also make use of the government benefits.
And which provision looks strong on paper and remain weak in practice, and how often we should implement, or we should give scope to uh, change the policy to make it relevant for today's generation.
In fact, the UN says the slogan is very clear. Okay, one is no one to be left behind, but also it says that nothing without us, which means that whenever we have some committees for nation making, they have to be included. That's very important. For instance, UDID. Uh, have we included any persons with disabilities at the time of formulating it and consulting? Have we consulted before finalizing it? And also, for example, currencies, note the rupee notes, coins. Are we consulting them before finalizing it? Because they have to find it easy to identify different notes. Sometimes I myself find difficult to identify a 20 rupee note and 200 rupee note. So persons with disabilities who are blind, whether they have any problem, because I came to know that earlier it was much easier to identify the currency notes, but now it's sometimes very difficult. So their involvement in every level, not only policy, highest policy making, but even like for instance, in terms of research, if Alimco has to come out with some kind of assistive devices, consultation and including them will definitely improve. We will know what kind of requirement they have, and whatever product that we make, it will be easy for them to use it. For instance, Korea, I am told, in fact, I have attended some of the global IT competitions. They conduct IT competitions for youth among persons with disabilities, blind, hearing, intellectual disability, and locomotor. And whoever do well, they give them awards, and they recruit some of them locally, Korean people, the persons with disabilities, and they put them in their research centers, and with their help they are able to produce mobiles and make a lot of changes in accessibility, and that is how they are finding it easy by involving them and coming out with various designs and features suitable for persons with disabilities. So not only in terms of technology but policy and various levels, their involvement is very important. How much ever the best be the scheme, but without involving them, without they getting their feedback, and feedback not only at the time of formulation but feedback from time to time about the implementation review is all very important. So we must co-opt persons with disabilities and their organizations as much as possible so that the gap between the law and the practice is reduced.
These days, social audits are being done.
Right.
Accessibility audits are being done by the department. So these kind of audits, and there also needs to be dashboards, no, so that the beneficiaries directly can also see the dashboards, what exactly things, how the things are getting done, and the numbers also they can see, so that there will be transparency in the government side. There will be transparency. There won't be much more gap. At least people need to, the public direct beneficiaries, the public are target audience. They can see, yes, government is transforming day by day, and the transformation has already begun, and the transparency is there. So
Yeah, definitely. Visibility and transparency is very important, and I feel that lots to be done. I mean, much being done, but commitment is there. As you said, commitment from all pillars of democracy are there. Media has to be a little more active, and if government can take more interest, governments, the central and state governments, and also the district level. In fact, the Act talks about district level committee, where the district collector, magistrate, or the superintendent of police, health officer, if they also education officer, if they also at the district level, each district in our country can take interest. I mean, it is already there in the Act, but that has to be, those committees have to be formed by state governments. If these things can be done, and I am sure that the all provisions of the Act can get implemented, and I'm sure that persons with disability will see the results of the Act very visible in front of them.
thank you, sir. Policies shape systems, but intent, empathy, and good execution changes lives. As we conclude, the policy is not just to identify the gaps, but to ignite the action. So through this particular episode, we have, it's also a step towards uh, inclusive society. It will enhance. It will act as an eye opener for the policymakers and the other stakeholders. They can also they can get some food for thoughts, and accordingly, we can help enhance the visibility, the transparency of the government.